All right, good morning. Thank you for joining us at this morning's webinar. This morning we're going to do a preview of an upcoming version of DW Spectrum. It is version number 4.1. To go through today's agenda, we'll be doing a quick introduction to Digital Watchdog. For those, we've got several new names in the attendee list this morning. We'll also do a quick introduction of DW Spectrum, just to kind of go over that again, and then focus on the new features, the feature overview in 4.1. There'll be a time for Q&A at the end, hopefully, as we wrap up the webinar. This webinar is being recorded, and so it will be posted on our website for future use. There is a question section in the GoToWebinar interface. Please feel free to go ahead and submit your questions through the GoToWebinar interface, and time permitting, we'll try to answer them here, or if we can't get them answered here, we'll send you an email after the fact with some of that information. And then, as always, we are conducting a lot of webinars, and so we've actually got one this afternoon. We've got a great one this afternoon. We'll go over that in a little bit. As well as one on Thursday this week. So please make sure you're going to our website and looking at the customer webinar page. That's where you'll find the recorded version of this webinar, as well as that's where you'll find future webinars. Okay. So let's go ahead and get started. Just why DW? You know, DW has been in business since 1987. We're a complete solution provider, leading manufacturer in the video surveillance market. We have video solutions deployed across a wide variety of industries, all different types of industries. You know, we have facilities, as you see, in Korea, as well as in Vietnam, with our production facilities in both. We have an office in Tampa. We have an office in our headquarters in Southern California. And so, you know, important in this time is that we have, through this long history, is we have trust in our supply chain and all of our manufacturing, our R&D, our quality assurance, quality control. And so our systems are engineered both in the United States and South Korea. And so that's become more and more important these days as we look at the passage of the NDAA. So all of our all of our cameras, recorders, and VRs, all the products that we sell are manufactured in the United States, South Korea, Vietnam, and Taiwan in our facilities, as well as all of our products. Well, most of our products, and we do have a list on our website, that are NDAA compliant for GSA and government projects, with all of that stimulus that's happening in the economy right now. As I mentioned, we've been in business since 1987. Innovation has really been a key driver with Digital Watchdog. You know, the company started out with the VMAX product, and we've continued to develop the coax solution, both at the recorder as well as on the camera side with our Universal HD. And then what we're going to be talking about today is our DW Spectrum product and all of the associated products that go with that, being the Megapix, the Blackjack, even the Megapix Cast we'll talk about a little bit. But really, we've tried to lead the way in innovation, always around the user experience and making that user experience enjoyable and easy with their video solution. We have a number of resources. Our website continues to grow as we develop more and more resources to serve you and the community out there in the low voltage security industry. So the website has continued to grow with our partner program, installation videos and documentation. We've launched a full knowledge base, and we're maintaining a knowledge base on a daily basis, updating that with articles and information about our products and how they fit into certain applications, particularly as we're getting into all these conversations with other manufacturers and how those systems work together. So that knowledge base is really robust with information about all of these disparate technologies. Our technical support, I mentioned our offices in Southern California as well as in Tampa, Florida. So it's a US-based technical support team. We do provide phone tech support, but you can actually create a support ticket right from that knowledge base and interact with our tech support team right through our support center. And then just recently, part of our partner program, we just recently launched the part of the DW University, expanded the DW University with the LMS system. So it's an online learning system. And so we've developed courses around DW Spectrum. We're developing a course around C3. So all of our products are being incorporated into the LMS. So you should certainly get with your regional sales representative and check that out. Speaking of our regional sales representatives, you know, we have a full team of pre and post sales support available to you. We have dedicated staff out there, regional sales managers, sales engineers, manufacturers, representatives. They're all listed on our website. All their emails, phone numbers, contact information is available there. And they're there for you. They're there to partner with you in terms of providing a solution that fits your application. So they're well versed in our product, and they're communicating with our technology partners and really working on applications every day out there in the field in the project development. So anywhere from sales training to product demonstrations to quick answers to questions and so forth. That team is there and ready, and it's growing every day out there. Okay, so we're going to get into a quick introduction of the DW Spectrum platform. Again, for those new faces in the audience, just to understand what DW Spectrum is a video management software. So you'll hear that referred to as a VMS. There are 4 components to the VMS. There's the desktop client software. There's the mobile application. There's a cloud component, and then there's the server engine. So they work together to to create a application which is full-featured and robust in terms of its capabilities and its power. It's really been optimized. Our products are optimized around it. So anywhere from our megapix cameras to our compressor encoders to our blackjack recorders have all been optimized and powered to work with DW Spectrum for easy configuration about resolution, compression, audio, all those things. And as you'll see, we're now getting more and more into the world of video analytics. Of course, as we've grown, we continue to be compatible with 99% of the IP cameras out there in the marketplace. And DW Spectrum has continued to evolve and with its support of H.265. So 6 big reasons why to choose DW Spectrum. And it really starts off with ease of use, simplicity. Our interface is dramatically easier to use. You'll find videos on our website about being built for users. And so there are a number of features that revolve around that you see listed here. We can demonstrate those at a later date, or you can check out some of the videos on our website. Another big reason about DW Spectrum and why to choose DW Spectrum is its open architecture. It starts with the operating system. Regardless of your OS, we've got you covered. So we support Windows, Linux, Mac, iOS, and Android. The application itself is very lightweight. It installs in minutes. It's up and running. It's a powerful application. It does not require heavy workstations to run. So you don't need big computer systems to run it. You can run it on small platforms. And yet the software is powerful enough to handle things like our 48 megapixel camera. Open architecture also gets into all of those technology partners and the ability to interface with them. So something we've been featuring on in our Works with DW Spectrum webinar series. Next big reason is its enterprise capabilities. So, system reliability does not require any extra. DW Spectrum is a complete software. It includes the ability to be centralized management, multi-server, health monitoring, We'll get into some more health monitoring options that we're coming up with. But the big one here that everybody tends to focus on is the failover capability. So it doesn't require additional licenses to implement failover. It doesn't require enterprise versions for failover capability. And then lastly, you'll see down there in the corner is the user management capabilities. Manage users your way. Again, a single version that includes everything, including the ability to integrate it with your Active Directory for user management if you so choose. Another way to manage users is through our DW Cloud, and DW Cloud really simplifies everything. It makes managing users and managing your systems that much simple. It sets up in seconds. It's you can connect from anywhere on any device. You can share with unlimited number of people. There's no limit on DW Cloud. There's no limits. There's no charge, no port forwarding, no complex network configurations. So it really makes the remote connectivity to a system very, very simple and easy to use. And then also the ability to add users and control those users and what they see and what they're able to do and within the system, all right from the DW Cloud interface. Key component, another reason for DW Spectrum is the simple licensing program. It's a one-time license per camera. That includes our multi-sensor cameras. We include upgrades at the click of a button. So within DW Spectrum and the system administration, you have the ability to update your system. So when we do come out with 4.1, you can push that update with a click of a button. Licenses are easily transferable. They're not tied to a particular camera, so you can move them from one camera to the next with ease, and you can even move the license from a server to another server with ease. So there's no tiers to our license. There's no license per server, no annual maintenance costs, and as I mentioned, no additional licenses for the ability to do failover, all built into DW Spectrum right out of the box. And another good reason for this is the ability to do the scalability of the product. Excuse me. And whether we're talking a single camera application all the way up to 1,000 camera application and beyond, DW Spectrum's interface it's a unified user experience. The ease of use functionality transitions across any size project. And so you'll see in terms of, when we talk about our hardware and the hardware that we have available that is powered by DW Spectrum in our series, we start off with our Edge solutions, our DW Spectrum Edge solutions being our CAS product. It's an all-in-one product. So that's a camera with a built-in media server for DW Spectrum, built-in storage, built-in license. So it's all-in-one. You basically just plug that camera into a PoE switch, and you can start recording within minutes. Then we go and we look at our Blackjack series. So this is an optimized server solution for DW Spectrum, and it fits across a wide variety, anywhere from 200 to 500 terabytes are in the Blackjack series. Look for, we'll talk about it upcoming webinars. We've got some enhancements to the Blackjack series coming that we're very excited to share with you in the next couple of weeks. So that'll be one of those upcoming webinars that we have. But as the server solution stands today, it's a complete, fits a wide variety of applications. So it's a complete line of servers available that are all powered by DW Spectrum. Another key component for DW Spectrum is the unique technology that we have and we have available. So one of the things that you'll find on our website, as well as in our app stores, both the iOS and the Android, is the DW Witness app. We're very excited about the DW Witness app. Every time we show this to somebody or somebody uses this, they rave about the usability of this particular product because it turns any smartphone, any tablet, any of those devices where you have a camera available to you, you can actually stream that video back into DW Spectrum. And it can be recorded within DW Spectrum. There's no charge for this in terms of the application, so you can go to those app stores and download that app, install it on the device, and then once it registers into DW Spectrum, it is going to take a camera license in terms of its ability to record, but it's going to auto-populate into the site tree, just like where all of your other cameras reside, and then the recorded video is going to be stored on the server with the rest of your video. So this is a unique solution to be able to go out into a business, into areas that you don't necessarily have cameras installed, but maybe you have people working or walking around. They can easily add a camera within seconds just by opening up their smartphone and turning on the app. So DW Witness works with DW Spectrum. Just check it out. Okay, so now we get to the good part, if that wasn't enough. And we start talking about in terms of the technology with the 4.1 and the feature overview. So these are features that we're going to be bringing into the 4.1 version of DW Spectrum. So high on the list of requests for quite a long time has been mobile push notification. So 4.1 is a highly anticipated update because of the ability to push events and mobile events out to your mobile devices. So things like those smartphones, those tablets, even the Apple Watch, and bring up those push notification events. Next, we have a new health monitoring dashboard in the web client of DW Spectrum. So there's a whole new tab within DW Spectrum that brings up information about the system, about the servers, the cameras, the storage, all of that. So we'll get into that as well. Third feature you see there is a major enhancement to the embedded browser within the DW Spectrum client, which is the new Chromium embedded based browser. Okay. Sorry about that. All right. So the Chromium based browser allows for much more flexibility in terms of the websites and so forth that it can talk to. We'll get into that. Then we go to the direct camera web page access. So you'll see an enhancement within the camera settings for web page access. And then the last two are kind of very exciting. They're actually going to require an additional webinar to be able to fully get into them. We're kind of just doing, as we said, a sneak peek preview of 4.1, but we'll get into this as we get closer to the release of this, is the ability for our megapix cameras will now have AI capability, so onboard analytics on the cameras themselves. And then they'll be able to communicate to DW Spectrum using the DW Spectrum AI plugin so that you'll have that as built-in embedded into DW Spectrum to be able to communicate with our megapix AI cameras. So that's the overview. Let's get into each individual feature, and we'll start off with the mobile push notification. So systems must be connected via DW Cloud, and users must have a DW Cloud account. This is going to work with the DW Spectrum mobile app that you can find on our website, as well as in the Google Play Store and the Apple iOS App Store. So push notifications can be configured right from the rules engine. So they're available as a drop down in the action area to send a mobile notification. And so you can create a rule within DW Spectrum that on an event, so in the case of an analytic event, if someone were to come into an area after hours, you can schedule this through the traditional schedule functions within DW Spectrum. You can send out notification. You can send that notification out to individual users, or you can send that notification to a group of users, anybody with a particular user role. In this case, we're showing it with the owner role, so that they can be notified anytime there's somebody in an area after hours when they're picked up. Any rule, any event in DW Spectrum can then be used for the push notification capability. The user simply has to go into their DW Spectrum mobile app and enable in the settings of the mobile device push notification. So they just click that little slide bar there to turn that on, and they'll receive those notifications as the server sends them out. Okay, looking forward. we'll go to the new health monitoring dashboard. So within the web client of DW Spectrum, a new health monitoring dashboard is available. This is going to show information about the status of the system, the servers, the camera, the network, the storage. So all of that is there, as well as it'll put on that dashboard alerts of components that are suspected to be in an unhealthy state. So you can see some representation of it there, but let's go ahead and just look at the dashboard itself. So I'll slide that over just so you can see it. Okay. So here you see a system, and we'll start off. It's got, so again, this is just going to be in the web client, and it's a new tab right next to the For Developers tab. That is an information tab about the system. And we're going to start off with the first menu there, which is the alert section, which is going to show warnings based on both the servers, the cameras, the storage location, as well as the network interface, so that you bring those up. As the systems, when they grow, obviously this is a pretty small system, but you'll see that you'll be able to filter out through this interface for particular events, whether they're camera events, storage events, server events, on particular servers, and different alert types. So you can filter those out right on the dashboard itself. You can also drill down and look at the individual system and what the system consists of in terms of its software version and storage location, number of users, and so forth. You can also look at the servers and the health status of the server. So you can get an instant view of what the CPU usage is, what the RAM usage is, how the system is performing, the IP address, and so forth of the system can all be brought in right through the web interface here. Then we look at the cameras, and we'll look at how the cameras are performing as part of the system, how they're recording, that they're on, no issues with the stream, what their frame rate is, what their resolution is of both the primary and the secondary stream. And we've also brought over the storage analytics, which have been in the server settings. You can bring those over into the dashboard as well, so that you can see how each camera, how much storage each camera has available to it. We go to the storage location itself. So here you'll see the individual drives on each of the servers that are part of the system. Again, you've got a search bar up here, so as the systems grow, you can filter this information out, but you can look at the status of the drive and see its state, its activity, space, and so forth, all right within this dashboard. And then we look at the network interfaces themselves, so we see what's connected to the system and how the system is performing on the network. Again, so this is all in 4.1 web client, right with an upgrade. So let's go back to the PowerPoint here. So that is the new health monitoring dashboard. Next, we'll look at the new Chromium embedded browser. So we've had a feature in DW Spectrum called Web Pages. It's been in the site tree for quite a while. And so down the left side of the interface, you've been able to put in web pages. The technology behind that wasn't great. It worked in some cases, most cases, but not all cases. So the upgrade to this feature, enhanced browsing experience, is to base that embedded browser. So the technology under the hood within DW Spectrum is that it's a Chrome-based browser, so that you can bring more sites, more site compatibility right into the interface. So you can put the web page right next to the camera, and so you can bring up different information, traffic, weather, news, as well as cameras from the facility, and bring them up together. Another part that this will open up is soft integration. So other systems out there, access control systems, for instance, that have browser capabilities, you can bring their interface right up inside of DW Spectrum, so that you'll be able to see their activity logs, their events, their alerts that are happening within their web page interface side by side with the cameras. So, you know, our friends, we did a webinar with PDK, but we've got a number of access control systems that are integrated within DW Spectrum. Some of them have browser interfaces. You can bring that browser interface right into it. And then, you know, as they send alerts and alarms in the Spectrum, you can have other things happen and pop up and so forth within that. So we think this is really going to enhance the ability to do these soft integrations with a myriad of devices and services out there with the Chromium-based browser. So let's just go ahead and take a quick look at that, just so that you can see. We'll bring up our Spectrum interface. And so here's the client for 4.1, logged into a 4.1 system. And just as it was before, you have the web pages, but you'll see we have now the ability to bring in a lot more websites using that embedded browser capability. And you can play those side by side with the cameras and so forth that are part of that system right inside of here. Another feature that this will add with this Chromium-based browser capability is the ability to download. So you'll be able to go to a website and download right from this interface that is side by side with the cameras, just as if you were in a regular web browser within the interface. Okay, let's go back. All right, so that's the Chromium embedded browser capability in 4.1. Next new feature is the ability to do get to the camera web page access in the camera settings. So this is a feature that's kind of been around, but has been greatly enhanced in 4.1. So operators can now, just within the camera settings, the tabs within the camera settings, so once past the recording and the motion tab, you'll see a web page tab, and you're able to bring up the web pages, the embedded web pages for those cameras into the camera settings. So you don't have to open up a separate browser. It also makes them you know, greater remote administration and flexibility, because you can reach them through DW Cloud, those web pages. So if we look at this, you know, I'm in our Tampa facility, so I'm located in Tampa, Florida. The camera I'm about to bring up. So this camera is located in our California office, and you'll see that I'll go into the camera settings. So I'll go to camera settings from here, and then I'll go to the web page tab. And so just like the general tab, we can have that load up there, and we'll get into the actual web page of the camera itself. Hopefully. Oh, there we go. Okay, so all the features and functions as if I was on the local area network with the camera are available right through the camera settings within DW Spectrum. So you'll be able to go in and adjust the, make image adjustments, make the white balance, the backlight, adjust all the settings, the on-screen display information, regions of interest, and so forth, audio privacy masks. So I'm able to do that remotely from this camera that's sitting on a network out there, and I'm able to get into the web page for this camera and go in and make adjustments and setting changes within the camera interface right inside of the DW Spectrum GUI. Okay, so that is the new enhanced web page capability. So let me slide this out of the way for a second. And we'll slide that back. Okay, so that's direct camera web page access. All right, so the big news in this presentation is our Megapix AI capability. So we will soon be adding to our Megapix series the ability to have AI capability on board the camera. So inside of the camera, you'll have the ability to create intelligence for things like appear, disappear, intrude. Let's start off with the base package. And so Megapix enabled cameras will be able to detect intrusion, so you'll be able to create different zones inside of the camera's field of view and create different rules based off of those zones. We'll have the ability to do exit rules, enter rules, so if somebody comes into an area or leaves an area, you can create notification events off of that. Line crossing and counting lines is also capable, so that you can do occupancy counts, for instance, for the situation we're in with COVID through the counting line capability. We'll also have the ability to add a premium package to that. So the base package will be included on the Megapix cameras, on the series, the Megapix AI series cameras. And then we will be able to add a premium package to be able to do appear, disappear, direction violation, tailgating, abandoned or removed objects. So you'll see right from the web page interface, you're able to bring up within the interface all the different rules that you can create. So you can do intrusion, line crossing, enter, exit, appear, disappear, stop, loitering, all of those right on the camera itself. So the analytic is running at the edge on the camera itself. Additionally, we'll be able to go into the camera and do a calibration. So you'll be able to go in and set up the camera and configure it based on the height and direction it's looking and so forth, so that you can make it very easy to set up. There's an on-screen calibration within here, so it gets set up with minimal effort, easy to set up. You can also set up, as part of that, is classification. So you can detect the difference between a person and a vehicle, for instance, so that you can create different rules based off of people and vehicles in particular areas. Okay. Okay, all of our cameras, so this Megapix AI will be available both on 2 megapixel and 5 megapixel versions. There are H.265 cameras with wide dynamic range will be enabled with this base package. Also should point out, as long as we're talking about cameras at this moment, I mentioned early on about the NDAA, keep in mind all of our cameras in this series are umbrella-based chips, so we're not using any high silicon chips. So we do meet NDAA with this technology. Okay, so let's take a second and look at that. We'll go back to this camera. We'll go back into the web pages. Sorry, got a lot of stuff open. Bring it back. Settings. Sorry about that. It's opening, but it's opening behind my presentation somewhere. Okay, hang on just a second. Sorry. We're going to try this again. We're going to start from the beginning. Not of the presentation. Just going to log into this DW Spectrum system. Okay. And camera settings. There we go. All right. And we're going to go back into the web page here. Give that a second to load. All right, and then we're going to go down to a section within the camera web page here that you'll see labeled as VCA. This has already been enabled. So once we enable it, it expands with all of the different rules, calibration, classification, all the things that we just covered are available right through here once you've enabled it with this enable button. And then once you go into the camera rules itself, you can add a rule to the camera. So you'll see, and so to add a rule, you just click the add button here. The list of available analytics. So again, we're going to have a base package, and then we're going to have a premium package. The base package will be on all Megapix AI cameras. And so you'll be able to go in and create an intrusion rule. And so then at this point, you'll be able to go in and adjust the area, the space of that. And so you can set that area right through the on-screen. So here you see an example of the counter line. Here you see another example of another intrusion rule. So this is all running on the camera itself, in the features within the camera itself. Okay, and then once I hit save, I could have named that a particular rule. It goes in and it creates that area, that space, and it's color coded to it. And you have the ability to either leave that on, or you can turn that off in terms of the on-screen display through the burnt-in annotation portion of it. Okay, so this is everything right within the camera itself. Just taking a quick look at the calibration, you'll see we're able to set up through the interface the calibration of the camera. And again, we're just doing a quick preview of this. We're going to do a full webinar series on the Megapix AI, as well as the next feature that I'm about to tell you about here in a second. But here you'll see the calibration and the classification information. So that is our Megapix AI series that we're working on. Okay, so the next new feature is now the ability, once we have that analytic running on the camera itself, is that we can send that information into DW Spectrum. So there'll be a plugin. We're referring to that plugin as the DW Spectrum AI plugin. We'll have that embedded on our Blackjack servers, but we'll have that embedded in our DW Spectrum software, both the server and the client. And you'll be able to take that information, take the information from the camera. So from a usability standpoint, you'll be able to take that information in the right panel and hit the object tab and bring up different objects. So if you're just searching for vehicles or people or the counter information, all that information will populate here, and you can bring up just vehicles or just objects within that. The other part to this is in the actual camera settings. There'll be a new tab labeled plugin that will able to do basically everything that I just did on the camera itself. I can do within DW Spectrum without having to open up another interface. Okay, so all of the ability to create that box or create that line is all within the DW Spectrum client through the camera settings using the plugin tab in the camera settings. So you'll see that coming in 4.1, and you will see an upcoming webinar on all of this so that you'll see that in action. All right, next thing is notable improvements. So in addition to the features that we just outlined, there are quite a number as usual, of notable improvements in 4.1 with everything from best server selection to two-way audio. Again, this will all be part of the release notes that once 4.1 is released, this will be available in our knowledge base online and for review. Okay, so you'll see our new features. Okay, so I see a lot of questions, and we're going to get to the questions. But just to answer one that I'm sure is in there, you know, DW Spectrum 4.1 is currently in a beta release. So it's really not suitable at this time for production environments. We can make it available. You can send me an email, send me a request, and we can get you a code. Again, we do not recommend putting this in a production environment, but if you would like to put it in your lab and test it and give us some feedback, we'd love to hear some feedback on the product and what you've experienced with it. We do expect it to release it for official release through the official release process That includes both putting it on our website, making it available for download, putting out the update code, as well as eventually pushing it into the systems out there eventually. But that process should start. We're expecting to start that next month. Also of note, since I mentioned in the call here, is Megapix AI. We're expecting that also should be released around the same time as 4.1. Should be pretty close to it. Basically, as I mentioned, any of the currently shipping H.265 megapixel cameras with wide dynamic range at the 2 and the 5 megapixel will be able to be upgraded to the base package of analytics, or onboard analytics. And I've mentioned a couple times, we are going to do an in-depth webinar, kind of a how-to on this. So look for that coming up prior to the Megapix AI release. We'll do a webinar on that. Speaking of upcoming webinars, as I mentioned early on, we do have a number of webinars coming up. This afternoon, we have a great webinar on wireless solutions. This is a purpose-built wireless for video surveillance, tightly integrated with DW Spectrum. So that's going to be a great session this afternoon at 3 o'clock Eastern time. We have another webinar on Thursday morning, 11 a.m. Thursday morning. We have a cloud-based analytics solution that works with DW Spectrum. And so social distancing is in the news, and despite this weekend. So we have a social distancing AI. They also have a threat detection capability in AI, so they can detect guns and weapons and so forth through that. Next week, we have Neural Labs talking about LPR solutions, as well as NeuroVision, talking about identity recognition and so facial detection, as well as some of the solutions that they're developing for the COVID world that we're now in. As well as we have an upcoming webinar with ICT and their access control and intrusion platform, which has been integrated with DW Spectrum for quite a while. I've mentioned, we have more webinars planned for Blackjack, for CAS, for Witness, as well as the Megapix AI webinars coming up. Okay, so let's get to some of the questions that have come through. And all right, I see an initial question here was license cost, and based on the timestamp, I'm going to assume you're talking about a DW Spectrum license. So again, DW Spectrum is free to download. When you download it, it comes with a 4-channel 30-day license. Other than that, we have no timed expiry on our license. Once you purchase a license, the license is good in perpetuity. The MSRP on our license is 110, and then you can get with your reseller as far as the actual cost of it itself. Okay, just reading through. The Chromium browser support plugins. I believe it does in some of the testing that I've done, but I'd have to double check that. Okay, there was a question that had come in. More details on what I'm talking about in the NDAA and high silicon. Okay, yes, I can give you more information on that. So we have on our website, you'll find an article in the knowledge base about the NDAA. So that's the National Defense Authorization Act, where they've named companies and banned those companies' products in government-funded projects. So 2 of the manufacturers are outright camera manufacturers that do a lot of OEM. We do not OEM from them. We do not use their products. The one that I did mention was high silicon, which makes a chip. So the chip goes inside of the camera and is running as the SoC on the camera itself. So we do not use and therefore those cameras are not NDAA compliant. We use Umbrella, which is a manufacturer that is not named in the NDAA, and therefore our cameras are NDAA compliant because we're not using a high silicon chip. Okay, some analytic questions. In terms of when are these cameras okay, we talked about cameras being available in July. If I buy a base camera and later want to upgrade, yes. So the upgrade process, we're working through the upgrade process. Our intention is to initially release the cameras with the base package available and on board already installed on the camera. And then we'll make we're making a process where you can come onto our website, come into one of our tools, and you can purchase a license and activate that license and get those pro features and activate that license right on the camera itself. Okay, we'll have more details on that in the Megapix AI. Okay, yeah, getting a lot of questions in terms of capabilities with outdoor and at night in terms of line crossing and the analytics. I can tell you our analytic solution has been out there for quite a while. It's very tried and true as far as the technology itself, and but of course it'll be very easy for you to test it in your application, and we would by all means recommend testing it in the application. Okay, so there was a question regarding a particular camera and its compatibility. Again, you're not going to see anything in the compatibility regarding Megapix AI right now online. We will be coming out with that in July as part of the camera, but essentially it's 2 megapixel and 5 megapixel that are WDR. We'll have a firmware upgrade that will give you the capability of putting a base license on that. We'll have more details on that soon. Let's see, some other questions. Direct. All the questions are kind of flying in. Do you see? Cameras.
Want me to take a look at some of these?
Yeah, I think I've hit on most of them.
Yeah, I mean, is there a cloud-based version of DW that we can live host a solution on? You know, there's a couple of interesting ones in here we might have to ask.
Yeah, we might have to come back to that one.
Ask about. I mean, you know, the server software can be run. You know,
so he's saying, so he's asking about. Yeah, I got it. So he's asking as far as no on-site server. Yeah, understood. In terms of no on-site server, one of the things I mentioned early on as part of that is our Edge solution, which is our CAS product.
CAS.
So that you have no on-site server. Sorry, go back to this one. And so the CAS product requires no on-site server. These are available with 64, 128, and 256 gigs of storage on board. So they're on the camera itself. And it is a full version of DW Spectrum. So when you go and you look at the server settings and the storage, you can configure it to store to a network attached storage device, whether that's on a local network or it's remote. So if you wanted to send that to a remote location, it's completely possible. So this would work with, so our CAS product is a full edge solution that does not require any onboard, any on-site servers.
If they look on our webinar page, we did like 4 weeks ago a CAS webinar that explains a lot of that stuff, so they can go back and view that. And let's see, will network requirements changed with the video intelligence in the cameras? This from Douglas.
Yeah, no changes in the network requirements. Again,
no PoE requirements for power. Yeah.
Oh, PoE.
He's worried about power. I would suspect the answer is no.
No. It'll be current to that. Okay. Cameras are map layout, but there needs to be.
You had an interesting one. Will Ubuntu 20.04 be supported? So Andy, right now he's already left, but 18.04 is supported, and they'll be adding 20.04 in a few months.
Okay, I wanted to get to Scott's question there. Needs to be blocked on a specified user. Provides access, would then be blocked. We'd have to, Scott, I'm going to have to email you and get more information about your question than to answer it here. Okay. Again, oh, somebody asked a question back on DW Witness. So there's no, I mentioned there's no cost for the application itself. So you can go to the Google Play or the App Store, and there's no cost to it. There's no license for the Witness application itself. Once you start streaming, it's just a standard camera license that activates that channel of recording within DW Spectrum. But other than that, you know, that minimal cost of having a license available for that. And it's, again, not exclusive to that particular device. So if I'm using DW Witness at the moment, and then I turn it off and Paul starts streaming from his device, you basically use that same license within DW Spectrum for both smartphones, just not concurrently. Thanks for joining us.